In this class, we are going to be learning PHP. We are going to then learn MySQL, which is basically the same as SQL Server. It's just a little different interface that you are going to be working with. But the SQL commands and how you create tables and everything that you learned in the 178 class will apply to MySQL too. The environment that we are going to be running the MySQL and PHP code in is the Apache web server. It's a very popular web server. It is open source, and so a lot of servers on the internet use Apache web servers. And so you guys are going to be installing an Apache server, and then you'll also be installing MySQL and PHP. And the two packages that you can run the code in, Laragon or Dev Server, actually will install everything you need for you. So what is PHP? It stands for Hypertext Preprocessor. It has been the most widely used server-side language for years. It is still the most widely used because WordPress is extremely popular and it is written in PHP. And if you want to do any kind of customizing of WordPress, you do need to know the PHP language. And this little graphic illustrates usage on the web, and this is of December 2019. So I did include a link that you can select just in case you are curious to see if it's changed. So it does look about the same. And in addition to seeing server-side, you can check out client-side languages and JavaScript libraries and all that kind of fun stuff. In case you're curious, this little table shows from 2010 through 2019 what the percentage of servers were using. And this is, again, server-side coding. And if you were curious about PHP itself and you want to find out more information than we will be covering, I included a link to their page as well. Now, as far as this course goes, you are going to have the testing environment, and that's either going to be Dev Server or Laragon. And then you need a web editor, and we use VS Code, and I included a link to that. And then you'll also eventually need a FTP program, and we've been using FileZilla. So you should already have VS Code and FileZilla. If you do not have them, you can just download them again. And the only things that you actually should have to install is either Dev Server or Laragon. And I am giving you guys a choice because for whatever reason, sometimes people have trouble running Laragon on their machine, and then they end up using Dev Server, or sometimes they have trouble using Dev Server and they end up running Laragon. And the end result is the same. You absolutely have to have this testing environment because server-side code executes on the server and you cannot see it when you have pages live online. And so I will give you a little demo of the difference between viewing something on the testing environment versus viewing it online. First, I'm going to show you what an error looks like if you view it live online. So this page has an error, and there is no way for you to tell what the error is because this is server-side programming. Okay, if we right-click and view the page source, there's nothing to look at. The code executes on the server. So even if a page is working properly, and I'll show you this one when it's working well, okay, this doesn't have an error. Even when a page is working properly, if you try to view the source code, you are not going to see the PHP code because that executes on the server. All you will see is the result of the PHP code, okay, which is these numbers in here. There's actually code that generated this, and you will not see that, okay? And that is when you transfer the page live. This is why it is critical that you set up the testing environment, because it's only in the testing environment that you are actually going to see errors. So I'm going to show you that page with the error. I'm going to show you it in Lairgun, and then I'm going to show you it in Dev Server. So you need to install both. And I'm going to go ahead and launch Lairgun first. And with Lairgun, you do need to make sure that you have installed everything. And let's see. So I can see I've got a PHP, Apache, and MySQL installed. Okay, and if you don't see those, that means you don't have them installed, and you need to go into Tools, and you need to go into Quick Add, and then you'll see them here. And all you have to do is left click, and Lairgun will install them for you. Okay, so installing in Lairgun is pretty easy. The next thing that you need to do is tell it where to look for the pages that you want to display. So I created a CIT 228 folder, and that's where I put all of my pages. Okay, and I would suggest that you do the same thing, because then what you can do is you can go into the Lairgun submenu and you can specify the root folder. Okay, and my root folder is, as you can see, CIT 228. And you are going to want to specify what your root folder is. Okay, and so if you go into whatever it has as your root and you switch the document root, you're probably going to want to select another, because I doubt you're going to put your pages in Lairgun/www, which is the default. Okay, you're not going to see G:"my drive because that's on my computer. So all you're going to see is C:"Lairgun and select another. So you guys are going to want to select another. And then it's a matter of selecting the drive, whatever drive you want to use, and whatever folder you are going to put your pages into. So I'd probably expand out PC. I would probably put them somewhere on a C drive or maybe a jump drive if you think you might use other computers. If you go into users and you expand out your username, you have lots of choices. You could put a folder under documents. You can see I have a lot of course folders in there. It's just kind of up to you where you want to put it. But you do need to select that root folder, and it should display here once you do. Then all you really have to do is click on Start All. And hopefully they start okay. Once you do that, if they don't start okay, it's probably a port issue. And I do have some notes on that in Moodle. If you run into that problem, let me know. I can meet with you and help you fix it. I'm going to go ahead and click on Web. And that actually takes me out to my CIT 228 folder. And I can see localhost. So you can tell you're not on the web. And so what I need to do is get into my assignment folder. Now this is all on my drive. Okay, so this is where I put the assignments. And here is the one with the errors. So this is actually telling me exactly where the error is. Okay, so it is a syntax error. It is expecting a variable, and it's around line 21. That is where the problem is. So this is the only way you are going to be able to problem solve, because if you just transfer that page up to the production server, you will have no idea where the error is, because it will display that. And this page is not working is really not a very good error message. Okay, so it's critical that you guys have this testing environment. So Laragon, pretty simple to use. Dev Server is also simple to use. It's just got a little different interface. So I'm going to show you how to use that as well. And so I'm going to stop Laragon. And this is Dev Server. So with Dev Server, you are going to want to right click and run it as the administrator. And then what you should see down here on your taskbar is the Dev Server. And so you're going to want to right click on that and go to servers. And usually I start and restart all of them just to make sure they're running. And then I open the dashboard. And what I'm doing down here is right clicking. And of course it opened in my other window. So here is the interface for Dev Server. If these show green and they have start on them, click them because they need to run. And then you need to set up a working directory. And so you can add a directory and you can specify all sorts of folders, but I have found that that is error prone. So you can see what I do. I have a lot of files on Google Drive, which is G on my system. So I keep this very simple. You have to give it a name. So I called mine Google Drive. I have the 228 folder on that drive, and I simply did G: and a backslash. Okay. That way, I don't have to worry about folder names or nested folders. I can basically just select what I want once the drive is displayed. So if you wanted to do something similar with your C drive, or if you have a jump drive, it's got an E letter, whatever, that keeps it really simple. And I don't need to add another. I'm going to go ahead and just click on Google Drive. And I'm going to go into my drive. I have a lot on it, so it could take a minute. And I'm going to find 228. And we said that was in assignments. So I'm going to have my assignments folder in here. And that was lesson 2. And here is simple math with errors. So this is basically showing you the exact same error message as Laragon. And in case you guys are curious, if you want to see line 21, I'm going to go ahead and launch VS Code, and I will open up the file. Okay, here is lesson 2, and let's look at simple math with errors. It said line 21, which is right around here. And the message was unexpected, it looks like variable, okay? And so we do have a $sign in front of our variable, but you will notice that this is a little different color. So it's thinking that is a variable instead of a function. And the reason it thinks it's a variable is because I misspelled it. I have rend instead of rand. So if I was to fix that and save my change, then I can simply come out into the dev server again and reload. And let's see. And it looks like I still have an issue. Ah, I'm also missing a semicolon. Bad typing day. Save that. And we'll come out and take another look. Ah, now I've made some progress. I'm on line 34, but you can see why this is so necessary, because if you don't test it in the testing environment, it's almost impossible to figure out what your errors are, especially if you have more than one. Okay, so at least I was consistent in my error here. I'm missing a semicolon. Might as well check the rest of those. That is probably the last one. And there we go. The instructions in the lecture demo do tell you how to get into both Laragon and Dev Server. They talk about changing the directories, starting the servers, basically the information that you need to know. If you do have any problems, please let me know and I can meet with you and we can get it all figured out.